Yeah. Run it back, nation. What is good? It is DJ Eastwood, Run It Back Philly, alongside the man, the myth, the legend, Romp, official Romp, Sixers Talk with Romp on YouTube, and Romp 2.0 on YouTube also for his more, what would you consider, like more NBA, more mainstream NBA topics and
Yeah,
not.
just mainstream NBA topics. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And James Harden's gone. Let's go.
James Harden is gone. It finally happened. By the way, everybody in here, thanks for coming through. Thanks for hanging out. Hit the like button, give us a like, subscribe to both channels. Um, it happened. That's where we're gonna start because this has been like I feel like talking about this team. I've had a cancerous tumor on my left hip for 6 months, and I just got it removed. It's gone. It's over. The back of the mind, like, yeah, but we're still dealing with this situation thing is done. And now we can just like assess the team and watch the games and talk about what's happening without this negative energy hanging around. Uh, what's your initial reaction? What was your initial reaction to hearing it? How'd you hear about it, by the way, at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, I got out of work and I was like, my phone was blowing up and I was like, what's going on? I wasn't expecting anything. Like in my mind, I was thinking he's getting traded at the deadline because that's what Daryl Morey does. He waits and waits and waits until the price is at its best, and it's worked in the past. But this situation, I just kind of was trying to forget about it. But then it comes out the details, and I see the details, and I'm like, I like this. I think we got good value for a 34-year-old who did not want to be on the Sixers, was causing issues behind the scenes. And also, if he did come back, there would be a question on whether, oh, is that taking touches from Maxey? Is that going to mess up Maxey's flow? Because right now, Maxey's playing with
Mhm.
insane confidence, and he's feeling himself. So even though James Harden could potentially help him in terms of relieving pressure off him, do you necessarily want to do that when Tyrese Maxey's averaging 30 plus points a game along with 7 assists? It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. So I think we got good value. I think the role players we got back, I think at least 2 out of 4. I don't know which players could help, but I think 2 out of 4 players will be in the rotation. And those picks, all of a sudden, the Sixers have a chance to go out and get someone and make a splash at the deadline. And before James Harden, I mean, before the trade, that was non-existent. We had no assets whatsoever.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the main things is this whole offseason we were talking about this team like, dude, if the championship window is now, or we were almost on like, let's just blow it up because we have nothing moving forward. There's no assets at all. There was no cap space. There was no draft picks. There was nothing. And it was like, that's okay if you look like you're a championship contender. When you're a team that you're like, this doesn't look like a championship contender and we have no assets, what are we going to do? So, yeah, it felt like there was this chokehold. And for him to even get what he got in this trade, I thought it was a haul. Like I really did. And there's people on both sides. It's funny when things happen like this when the other side is just like the Sixers got fleeced, and I'm like, are we talking about the same player that I'm talking about? Because no other team in the NBA was offering anything. The Clippers wouldn't even give up Terrence Mann for him, who for some reason I don't know if that's true or not, but it's all the reports were like they don't want to let go of Terrence Mann for some reason. Good player, but come on. There for James Harden, obviously because he requested 3 trades in 4 years, obviously because he's shown a lack of dedication to organizations, he's shown a lack of dedication to his fitness at times. He's burnt out in the playoffs a couple years in a row. He's on a player option that's expiring. There's a lot of reasons nobody's going to offer anything for him. So I didn't even think a team would give up first round picks for Harden. And I knew really it only kind of made sense for the Clippers to do that. I think it was a win. What do you think about the people that are saying like the Sixers lost this trade somehow?
No, I mean, I thought I thought Harden's value was in the dumps. So the fact that we got 2 first round picks and a swap and 2 second round picks, I mean, that 2028 first round pick for the Clippers is one of the most valuable in the league because in 5 years, what are the Clippers? They have no young talent on the roster besides Bones Highland and Brandon Boston Jr. And those are
Mhm.
nice young players, but they're not going to result in winning basketball once Harden is washed. He's probably going to be gone next season because I don't think the Clippers are gonna get anywhere. Paul George might be gone, and they're all on expiring. So who knows what they look like in 2028? And they have no assets to go out and get anyone. They don't own any of their picks. So it's like that is a valuable, valuable pick. Where if I'm the Bulls and I go downhill, I'm looking at that pick and I'm looking at Jaden Springer and then a couple other assets, and I'm like, yeah, Zach LaVine, see you later. We're
Oh, yeah.
rebuilding.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes the most sense for the Bulls right now. You know what I mean? Like when looking at that team, if you're the front office, they're probably like, "Is this going to work?" And if it's not, then we got to do something now. I thought re-signing Vucevic last season was kind of odd. I thought they were going to blow it up then. Uh, so yeah, I mean, the Zach Levine thing makes perfect sense. But on the Clippers for a second, you don't think this makes the Clippers a championship contender? This James Harden thing right now, because obviously that's the only reason they would do it if they feel like this can take us to the next level. I think the Clippers have looked pretty good in the past couple in their first couple games of the season. That's assuming Kawhi and Paul George stay healthy. But so you don't think adding James Harden at this stage of his career does anything for the Clippers?
No, I think that's why I didn't get why they wanted him. I think their chances now are the same as before. It all hinges on Kawhi Leonard. You saw last year when he was healthy, he was making Kevin Durant look silly. So if the Clippers are going to win a title, it's going to be because Kawhi stays healthy and Kawhi goes 30 points a game and whatever and great defense. It's not going to be because James Harden averages 40 points a game. Because this year, you take out those outliers, and yes, they're outliers because the other games were bad. James
Uh-huh.
Harden was averaging 15 points a game on 30% shooting. So, most of the time throughout his Sixer career in the last couple of years, James Harden has been bad in the playoffs. And
Yeah.
everyone forgets that because he had those 2 amazing games versus Boston, which were amazing. I can't take it away from him, but also you got to look at his other resume. So to me, it's like it's just it's Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah.
That's what's going to get you to the promised land, and if they stay healthy. And now you got a whole dynamic of Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
mean, it's 2023. We're going to do that. Come on now.
We're gonna do Harden and Westbrook right now in 2023, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I get. Do you think the Clippers could be looking at it like Harden in Brooklyn the first year he was there with KD and Kyrie, even though they only played I think 7 games together. But Harden is no longer a superstar. You're not relying on him to drop 40 points. Uh, Elite facilitator still probably at this point of his career when he wants to be. Uh, they're probably looking at it like that. Like this is a guy that we can get here that can Kawhi and Paul George are already going to get their shots up. Kawhi and Paul George healthy are already gonna score 25 a game each. This guy can set them up and make that even easier for each of them, and that takes us to the next level. That's without even talking about the Westbrook side of it because that is kind of an odd just fit. Westbrook's just kind of there. He's just kind of been there for a couple years. Even when he was on the Lakers, it was just like he's there. I don't know if I don't know if he helps.
Yeah, I mean, I understand he's going to set Kawhi and PG up, but like what is he without the ball in his hands? You don't really have to worry about him because you can easily close out and take away his 3-point shot. It's just gonna you go help on Kawhi and you close out in time, it's gonna turn into a dribble step back 3-pointer. So it's like, yeah, he's a great facilitator, and that's probably gonna help them in the regular season. Like, I think they'll be a good regular season team, but this is about winning the West, and I think Denver would absolutely destroy them. Like it would be funny to watch Denver. I think Denver is just way better than every team.
They
And
are.
I've been sleeping on Denver in the past. Like last year, I was like, they're not that great. And just seeing their title run and then seeing how they came out this year, it's like they're far away from everyone just from a chemistry standpoint. And you got to
Yeah.
take that into account too. Like Harden has to develop chemistry with Kawhi, and Kawhi doesn't talk off the court. Harden parties off the court. Like, come on now.
Two polar opposite personalities for sure. Yeah. Denver, I remember the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago before Jamal Murray tore his ACL or whatever, when he had back-to-back 51-point games in the Western Conference Finals. And then, the next year he was out with the torn ACL. And I was like, man, when that team gets healthy, they're going to be, unstoppable, especially if Michael Porter Jr. can stay healthy. So that all came together for him. And yeah, it just looks perfect. But Kawhi and Paul George healthy, I think, is a contender. That's just my opinion, but it's such a risk for the Clippers right now to be giving up future unprotected first round picks when it could be 2 weeks and it could be Kawhi has a floating cartilage in his right knee and is out for 7 weeks. You know what I mean? Like that shit could all start again. So they're definitely taking a risk. But I guess risk and reward, it is what it is. It also could be the fact that, and here's something I wanted to ask you, and I'll bring it up on the screen. I think I'll bring it up on the screen. Where's my screen? Yeah, right here. It could have been the owners making the rumor is that the owners of both teams are the ones that made this trade. From everything I've been told, this is Vince Goodwill on a Ball Don't Lie pod. I don't know who that is, but from everything I've been told, this was not a package trade that Daryl Morey even wanted. This was a trade that was made essentially by the 76ers ownership. They had told Daryl Morey to get a deal done now. I think that's hilarious because we were doing the same thing all summer. Like, bro, just make the deal. Nobody's offering anything. The Clippers aren't going to budge because they're the only team in the conversation. Why would you wait until the trade deadline? And everybody was sitting back saying basically the same thing. Why would you take the ball away from Tyrese Maxey and have this negative stigma around this team for half of the season and potentially waste another season of Joel Embiid's prime and all of this stuff? Look, get it done now. And I think it's hilarious that apparently the owners stepped up and said, if you're not going to do it, we're going to fucking do it. So get out of the way. I'll make the call and I'll make the trade. Do you think that's like possibly true?
Shout out Josh Harris. Shout out Commander.
Can he make a trade in the NFL too?
Yeah. 2 trades, right? Montez Sweat gone, and Chase Young. But yeah, shout out Josh Harris, I guess. My thing is like
weird.
My thing is the star trades are still available, and James Harden never made sense for any of the rebuilding teams. Like, why would you want to rebuild with James Harden? It was always going to be a third team facilitating, I guess, like the Clippers, and then the Bulls would get involved. But you still have a chance to get like OG Anunoby if he becomes available, if Toronto keeps going downhill, which I would like more than Zach LaVine, to be honest. I like Zach LaVine, but I think I think you have the scoring on the roster with Embiid and Maxey. I think their 2-man game is good enough if they're on top of their game to get you through playoff series. I still think we need that defender on Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or Jimmy Butler, whoever. That's why I would love OG more than anything, but Messiah is the GM in Toronto is just very stingy and he's tough to work with. Like, he's worse than Morey in most situations.
He lost the Kyle Lowry situation by a landslide because he sat on him for an extra season because he just wouldn't trade him.
Yeah, he's gonna lose. They're gonna lose out on OG and probably Pascal Siakam with the way their season is starting. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Josh Harris stepped in and was like, "This is what are we doing here?" The vibes are great. The fans seem excited,
right,
watching Maxey.
Yeah,
so that comes into play.
Right.
You always say that stuff.
As an owner, that definitely comes into play. He's like, dude, the vibes are high. We got people out here buying tickets and popcorn and beer, and you want to keep this dude around and ruin this shit for me? I'll do it myself. I think, but at that point, it's like, what's Daryl Morey even like? Fire him then, if he's not in charge and you guys are in charge, then fire him. That's just weird to me. I think you could probably eventually see Daryl Morey maybe step down if he feels some type of way about that. It feels like kind of a Sam Hinkie thing to me, where he was like, no, you're not sending me a mentor. I'm going home. I'm out." And he stepped down. So I feel like that's maybe a little bit of a shot to Daryl Morey's ego too. Somebody stepping in and doing it over his head, if that's actually what happened. Uh, Maybe we just keep GMs around forever. You know, what the hell has Elton Brand been doing for the last 5 years? We just don't fire people. We just, put them in the back of the office or something. I don't know.
I remember like a couple weeks ago we brought in Neil O'Shea, which was interesting. Remember that? As
I
like a
heard that story.
supervisor.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
that's true.
Maury might be on his way out after this season. Low key.
That's true. I forgot about that Neil O'Shea thing as a super. The Sixers hire more like advisors and consultants than I've ever heard an NBA team hire. Like we're just gonna put another guy here to like sit in the office and watch what you're doing and maybe say things. I don't know. It's just weird. What a team.
Either way, at this point, the Sixers have a way better chance to land Zach LaVine or whoever becomes available than they did before when having Harden on the roster. So it's like, what's
Yeah.
the point of waiting? You got assets. Somehow you got so many picks. You got a
Right.
whole pick haul. Honestly, you can make an argument we got better picks than the Blazers got for Damian Lillard. You can make an argument.
Yeah, they didn't even. That's the funny part about that trade too. It wasn't even like a massive haul that everyone thought it was going to be because he ruined it by saying, "I'm
Yeah.
not playing for anybody but the Miami Heat," I guess. So the Bucks had to, or the Portland had to just kind of, whatever's better than this Miami Heat offer is what we're going to take, and that was it. The Speaking of Zach LaVine, so you're more on you'd rather have OG Anunoby than Zach LaVine. You don't think adding Zach LaVine here makes you um a championship level team? Because like looking at the roster right now, when you're only wings, even though they just got, a couple more, which is awesome also, KJ Martin is just an athletic dude, and that's what this team's been lacking for such a long time. So now you have Kelly Oubre and KJ, and you have some athletes. Maybe Jaden Springer now gets more minutes with the trade, but I wouldn't say the roster right now is like a favorite to contend for a championship. So if they potentially flip these assets for Zach LaVine, that makes you a more powerful offense, right? But not necessarily defensively. And you're looking at it like defense in the playoffs. You'd rather have OG Anunoby.
Yeah, just my opinion, but I'll take Zach LaVine. You could easily sign OG with all the cap space we got. You can overpay him, and then you'll have Zach LaVine and OG. I think that's
True.
possible, but yeah, I mean, I'll take Zach LaVine because it's obvious we need another perimeter creator. I mean, I think that is one of the biggest weaknesses on the team. You see
Yep.
Tyrese Maxey in bench units kind of just alone out there. Like
Yeah.
outside of Kelly Oubre, there's no one on the bench who you can give the ball to and like create their own shot. That's why I think Marcus Morris, although he's kind of washed and people hate on him all the time because his defense is trash, I think low key his scoring is going to help the bench because he's a guy, although he's washed, you could give him the ball and he can actually create for himself and shoot over people and hopefully, maintain minutes. So I think he's kind of an underrated part of the deal in terms of helping out the bench because at times Nick Nurse would play like all bench units to start the fourth or third quarter
Yep.
or in the middle of the third quarter. And it'd be like, yo, how are we going to score the basketball here? Like the defense is great, but it's like, how are we going to score? And I think we got to address that at the deadline. And Zach LaVine can certainly address that because then you can stagger LaVine and Maxey and then rest Embiid and then bring Embiid back and have like Oubre on the court. You can do a bunch of things to, keep the offense afloat if you have LaVine, Maxey, and Embiid.
Yeah, and even and by the way, almost 300 people in here. Everybody hit the like button. Thanks for being in here. Even the last game against Portland, both runs that they made, I think one like towards the end of the second quarter and one towards the end of the third quarter, was against that lineup where it looks like you have, you're lacking creators. A couple times you look at the floor, and I was like calling out who's on the floor, and I was like, wait, who's gonna score in this lineup? And that's another reason that Kelly Oubre looks as good as he does so far, is because there's nobody else to do that, especially in those bench lineups. So then it's just the Kelly Oubre show, and he can just try to create and chuck shots up and do what he did in Charlotte. Like guys like that we've been missing for so long. We've been like, where are, I think I just said that today, and I used your name. I was like, me and Romp been saying for like 3 years, where are the basketball players? Like, just where's the guy that just takes the ball and does like basketball things and gets an and one or shoots a mid-range jumper? Like, we've had one-dimensional players for so long, or defenders that can't play the offensive side of the ball or whatever else. So I haven't seen a Morris brother play this season though, so I don't really know too much about it. I don't know what he looks like. So I'll take your word for that.
I mean, he's definitely washed. He's definitely on the decline. But he started 65 games for the Clippers last year. So it's like you're getting a starting caliber player, and he's most likely going to be in a bench role. And 2 years ago, he averaged 15 points a game pretty efficiently. He can shoot the three. I just think on the Clippers, his defense was really bad. And I don't really worry about defense when you have Joel Embiid on the team and you have Nick Nurse. And also, his offense is very annoying when you have so many guys like who can create their own shot. Like you have Kawhi, you have Paul George, you have Norman Powell. They had so many guys who you would rather have the ball in their hands than Marcus Morris Sr. But with the
Yeah.
Sixers in bench units, you wanted in Kelly Oubre, Maxey, or now you got Morris as a guy you can set a screen for and he can shoot over someone, and hopefully it goes in. And if it doesn't, play defense and get out on the fast break. Because the Sixers, I don't know if you noticed, they're playing way faster.
Yeah.
Way faster.
I mean, that was easy to predict. Like that's the thing about those, there's going to be people with different opinions all the time, but I thought my opinions on Doc Rivers and his offense and what the team looked like, because of just lack of preparation, lack of just practice and intensity in practice or repetition. They looked like shit in the margins. They looked like shit in rebounding. They looked like shit in transition defense. It was obvious to me what the problem was. And it was obvious that if you get a coach in here that actually comes into practice and says, all right, get on the line. I don't care if you're a superstar. I don't care if you're a 10-time All-Star. I don't give a shit. Get on the line and run, because you guys are fat and out of shape. Like, that's what they needed, and that's clearly what happened. He was like, not only am I going to make you get on the line, we're going to fucking Colorado. How about that, dude? You guys aren't even going to be able to breathe. That's how much I'm getting you in shape. So, yeah, now they're playing faster, rebounding better. The defensive rotations look like they're actually trying every play, except for maybe against the Bucks game when Joel just left Brook Lopez wide open, which I would love to hear what conversation happened after that game, because I really think Nick Nurse was probably like, hey, what are you doing? That ain't gonna work.
That wasn't his fault though, in my opinion. I don't know the scheme, but
You think it was miscommunication?
because Tucker, what they're doing is they're trying to have Embiid at the rim as much as possible. I think he could have.
Yeah.
I think he should have just naturally read the play and been like, "Oh, PJ has no clue that he's supposed to get up on Brook Lopez."
Yeah.
But in that situation, I mean, they did it a bunch of times where Embiid would just stay down low, and then the perimeter guy would pick up the 3-point shooter. It just looked really bad because Embiid was, he looked gassed out of his mind and he looked out of shape that game. But I think that's the scheme, and that's why Tucker doesn't really fit the scheme, because he doesn't rotate out quickly. Like, he's not a quick rotate. He can in some situations, but I mean, there's going to be miscommunications like that with a new defense. But overall, I mean, the defense has been great in my opinion.
That too, in the last 2 years, you have players like PJ Tucker, and Doc was combining him with the likes of George Niang. And like, we had so many guys on the floor that can't move their feet. It was insane. And we're like, how are you supposed to keep up defensively with NBA teams when you have the slowest team in the game? So it was frustrating to watch for a long time. And now you finally have somebody that's focusing on defensive rotations, focusing on having the team be in shape, and it looks like Daryl Morey is focusing on getting younger athletic players around Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and not signing the 2015 Rockets anymore. So yeah. Yeah, I mean I'm excited for it too. Speaking of PJ Tucker, what do you think of that? I had people reply to the funny thing about TikTok. I just started posting TikToks like a couple months ago, like consistently, and some of them randomly blow up. Like I'll just have a little opinion about PJ Tucker and the fact that the Sixers got off that contract, and it's at like 70,000 views for no reason whatsoever. So it's just nothing but hate comments, right? And like, there's people in there that are like, PJ's a dog. What are you talking about? PJ's a. And I'm like, that. You guys watched basketball in the last 2 years? Like, to even, in my opinion, to get out of that PJ Tucker contract was another win in the James Harden trade because PJ Tucker's cooked, bro. He can't even make a shot anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't even get guarded. Like straight up, that was a big problem in the Celtics series. He doesn't, no one cares about him because he doesn't want to shoot besides the corner. And now he's even pump faking corner shots. And that's why I love Nick Batum because he's a huge upgrade over PJ Tucker because
Yeah.
he can shoot from anywhere and he can play the small ball five legitimately. He played it on the Clippers a ton. He's smart enough, and you can put Robert Covington at the 4, and that's 2 solid rim protectors. Nick Batum was 3rd on the team last year. He's not a flashy defender by any means, but he was third on the team outside of Kawhi and PG for blocks, and I think he was 2nd in steals. But Nick Batum, I love him because he's a high IQ player. Hopefully his shot continues to go in because he was like a 39% 3-point shooter for the Clippers over the years. It kind of went down towards the end of last year, but honestly, the Clippers vibes were so bad last season that I
Yeah.
feel like it's hard to judge role players because the situation, it just was a weird situation out there. So yeah, Nick Batum, he can pass the rock as well. Like you can give him the rock and they can set screens, cut, and he'll find the open guy. Like in my opinion, I'm already ready to start the Nick Batum over Tobias Harris agenda against great teams because this is the thing about Tobias. Like he's having a great season, but I already know against bad teams, Tobias is going to get his numbers. He's going to look
Uh-huh.
good. But when there's any ounce of pressure on him, he's probably going to suck. Like just straight up. That's
So you're
just
not sold. You're
I'm
not sold on Nick Nurse unlocked Tobias Harris.
no, because I saw against the Bucks he was trash. And then whenever the Sixers are the favorites or are supposed to win, he'll play well because the competition is lower. But every time we're playing a better team, supposedly, he
Disappear.
will he will disappear or just be average. Like he'll have one good game in the second round. He'll have one game where you're like, oh damn, Tobias really stepped up. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, just I could just tell he's an amazing practice player. Like I guarantee you, if we go to a Sixers practice, I feel like he cooks everyone because there's no pressure and he
All I
gets
need
to his
from
spots. He gets to his spots, but he just misses. And I feel like it's kind of in his head a bit and he's just a practice player.
all I need from Tobias is him to be average. I just
Yeah.
I just can't have the 2 points in 40 minutes in a playoff game. Like, just get me 14, you know?
I
That's
will
all I need from
say
Tobias.
I love he's actually closing out.
Yeah.
He's poking balls. Pause.
Yeah.
He's getting deflections. Come on.
He's
I
getting his
love that.
hands on balls for sure.
He yeah, he definitely looks way better than last season. I just have to wait to see it against elite competition.
Everything looks quicker, and I think he's making quicker decisions. I feel like I said that last season sometimes, but he's definitely not like getting the ball, staring down his defender, trying to ISO, taking 40 seconds off of the shot clock. He definitely seems like it's in his head, like, okay, I either got to get the ball back to Maxi or I got to go do something. So I think he's being a lot more just he's working quicker, and I think that's helping him so far. At least, like you said, against bad teams, he definitely plays well against bad teams. He singles out the smaller guy and gets him into post and does his thing. So we'll see if he goes back to being Houdini Harris when they play some better teams. Some super chats here. Kenny Smith, what's up? Thanks for the support. Maxi has definitely made this easier. Yeah, Maxey's the reason this happened. Maxey is the reason this happened. That's it. That's all there is to it. Tyrese Maxey is the reason this happened. There was no going back. There was no James is sitting on the bench to the last game, and we were like, how could you even bring him back and slow down this momentum that Tyrese Maxey has right now? How could you even do that? It doesn't make sense. A player like Zach LaVine makes more sense. A player like, an off-ball player that's you're still gonna let Maxey run the show as far as the point guard position goes, and a guy that can work off ball and can catch and shoot and things like that. But a player like James Harden who needs the ball in his hands the whole game, it makes absolutely no sense for him to be on the floor with Maxey at this point. And so I was like, you just can't do it. It doesn't make sense. Are they really going to do that? And I said that on a video, and 24 hours later they traded him because they were, at least Josh Harris was feeling the same way. How could we bring James Harden back with this level of confidence that Tyrese Maxey has right now? And I think Maxey, he worked on what he needed to work on again in another offseason. He went in the lab and he said, okay, so in one offseason, I went from a 29% college 3-point shooter to 40% in the NBA, or 42%. In the next offseason, they wanted me to add an array of shots because I was just either like a floater or going all the way to the rim. They wanted me to get a little more creative with the mid-range and the step back and adding things to my bag, and he did that. And this offseason, they're like, hey, we need you to be a little bit more of a floor general facilitator. We need you to be able to run the pick and roll with Embiid and read the floor and make the right play. And it looks like he was like, okay, that's what I got to do. Now I'm in the lab doing that. And he comes out this year, and it looks like he's coming around screens with his head up, reading the entire floor. He's watching the roll man. He's watching the defense, and he's hitting the skip pass to the corner, or he's hitting it to Embiid, and he's running around him like a bee circling around, somebody's head. Like that too, with the 2-man game that I think this Maxey and Embiid 2-man game is so much better, honestly, than the Harden and Embiid 2-man game was, because he never stops moving. So without the James gives the ball to Joel and that's the end of the play. Now Joel has to do something or the play's over. This is, the defense stepped up. Joel gets doubled. Maxey's on this side. Now he's on this side. He never stops moving. He's an Energizer bunny. It's reminding me of like Allen Iverson from back in the day. So I'm just loving it. And I think Tyrese Maxey is the absolute reason this happened. And I couldn't be happier about it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with it's way better, or it has more potential than Harden and Embiid 2-man game. Like Harden and Embiid, when they had the 2-man game, literally everything had to be perfect. The spacing had to be perfect. This guy had to be there. This guy had to be this. Harden can only score. This is the only places on the court Harden can score. Step back 3-pointer or at the rim.
Yep.
Or every 1% of the time he'll take a mid-range jumper. So as a defense, that's easy to guard. And half the time you're like, okay, I'll live with a step back because he's only shooting it at like 35%. And Joel Embiid, he can score from anywhere, but mostly the mid-range. So it's just way easier to game plan, because when Maxey is on top of his game, he can score with the floater, he can score at the rim, he can score from anywhere on the court. It's kind of like Jamal Murray-esque.
Yep.
And that's when he's on top of his game. And the thing is, he had no chance to get on top of his game because they never gave him the rock to get confidence and get in a rhythm. And that's why I find it funny. Everyone's like, he can't be a lead ball handler. He can't be this and that. Like, what are you talking about? You saw potential there. Like his game against Ja Morant when everyone was out, when he got the ball, he got in a rhythm and he took over and he went toe-to-toe with Ja Morant.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was right in front of everyone's eyes. Mm-hmm. It was right in front of everyone's face. And you got people saying he can't be a lead guard because he misses a backdoor cut every once in a while. Like, what are we talking about?
Or he would have a game where he just has a bad shooting night and goes like 3 for 11, and they'd be like, "See, I told you, Maxey." I'm like, bro, why does he get treated like that? Damian Lillard just put up 6 points the other night, and nobody talked about it 6 hours later. The players have bad shooting nights. Yeah, it was right in front of you, and I just felt like there's nothing this kid can't do, and yeah, bringing James Harden back right now wouldn't make sense. And even last year, you probably stinted Tyrese Maxey's growth as a starting point guard by even having James Harden there last season, because a player that needs the ball in his hands the whole game, Maxey's not getting the reps, and now it's like he's totally unlocked. It's and then you add in a coach that's actually putting in a game plan and actually trying to, take advantage of his skill sets and put him in the right positions versus a guy that's just like, hey, here's the ball. I don't know. Go figure it out. I'm going golfing. So that's nice too. Yeah, I agree. I think it was right there. And I was like, watch what happens when Tyrese Maxey finally gets the opportunity. And boom, look. And it's only been 3 games, but there's no reason for anyone to be saying right now that he can't be a lead guard. And if they are saying that right now, they weren't watching. They weren't watching the Memphis game. They weren't watching stuff like that. All they saw was, Sports Center highlights or the mainstream games, the nationally televised games. But I don't think anybody that was really watched every game Tyrese Maxey has played had a negative opinion on his potential as far as a ball handler. Kastner, what's up? Thanks for being a member for 5 months. Why do NBA casuals think we got fleeced? We fleeced them. Do they think they got MVP form Harden? Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Every time someone argues with me, like really argues with me about Harden, it's always, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer. And I'm like, okay. Like I said, Michael Jordan's the best ever. Does that mean he's good right now? Like, doesn't make you great forever. I never understand the argument. So, no, I don't know what version of Harden they think they got, but I do honestly think they gave up too much for Harden at this point in his career. John, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. Yeah. We're excited that James Harden, we're excited that the James Harden saga is officially over. We agree, John. However, you show your excitement over that. Wow, pause. I should have left.
16 hours, bro.
Should have just let that go, man. Should have just let that go. That reminded me of the movie The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Remember he calls the number and they're like, when did you take the medication? He's like, no, I didn't take anything. What are you talking about? I didn't take it. I'm just, anyway. Mr. Rudy Poo, thanks for the super chat. Why is Romp's favorite player, Furk Nasty, still on my team? I think we finally have NBA caliber wings. Breath of fresh air.
You knew that was coming.
You knew that was coming, Romp. We got to cover that.
Just
your boy Furk also reportedly asked to be a part of the Harden trade, and neither team wanted him. Neither team wanted that to happen.
He needs a ring, man, in Philly. Let's just be real.
What I love about Furkan Korkmaz is he's not trolling. He's not. He's not trolling. He's absolutely not. He came from a country where he was the star player in that country. And he's in his eyes and in the eyes of everyone around him, probably his family, his friends, everyone in his home country, everyone, he's a Turkish superstar in his mind and in the people around him mind. And he's being serious. He thinks he's a superstar and he thinks he's not getting an opportunity, and he keeps requesting trades, and everyone's just like, nah. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild to me. And when he does the like social media stuff before a season or in the off season, like taking pictures of himself and all this, he's not joking. I don't think. I think he really thinks he is a star who's not getting an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean,
you also think he's a star who's not getting an opportunity.
I do.
Not really.
I think he can help the team with his beautiful shot.
So
nah, I'm done with the Furk love.
You're done with the Furk love?
No, I mean it's still there. I think he'll get a chance eventually, and he's just got to make his shots. He can move around. He can pass. Like he just got to make his shots. If he's not making his shots, he's useless. But if he does make his shots, he can be a solid 12th man.
I think I'll agree with that. I mean, I've seen Furkan in the past. He hit a game-winning shot against the Portland Trailblazers a couple years ago. I remember that. When he's shooting a decent percentage, he's still a shooter off the bench. But when he's just missing everything, he doesn't have anything else. So it's like, bro, we can't. Doc played him for 4 months straight, and he shot 17% from 3 over the course of 2 months. And we were like, why is he still playing this guy? Yeah, if he's not making shots, he's not valuable at all. I just think it's unbelievably entertaining that he keeps trying to jump in. It was funny, like the last time he requested a trade was when Kyrie and Kevin Durant requested trades out of Brooklyn. And Furkan was like, yeah, all of us want trades. I want traded too. And they were like, you're not one of those guys, Furk. You're not getting traded. So here he is. He's still here, still getting paid to do nothing. At least he has that,
My my question that I've been seeing recently is like I don't understand how people are like, "Oh, they're punting the season. They're punting the season when that
People are
like
saying that about the
people
Sixers right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And people were believing in last year's team, acting like that team was something crazy. Like all
Yeah.
we did was post up Joel and have three people on the other side holding hands in the corner, and they consistently did that. And you believed in that team, but you're not going to believe in a team where potentially Joel and Maxey can have an unpredictable two-man game by the end of the season, it's looking like.
Yep.
And you actually have a coach who's going to make adjustments. But because you lost James Harden, who outside of 40-point games averaged 15 points a game on 30% shooting, now you're punting the season. It makes zero sense to me. Like, I just don't understand what people are seeing. Like, last year, our team was good, but it had a major flaws. And at this point in James Harden's career, I would rather have a guy on the court that's going to play defense and move around and hustle and just be a team player than Harden, to be quite honest with you, in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. I think this team right now, with the addition of the change in coach and just the addition of even just Kelly Oubre Jr. over, George Niang from last year. Just the addition of a 6'9" athletic wing who can create shots and, get some rebounds, play defense, get up and down the floor. Yeah, this team's already better. I honestly think this team's already better than the team last year. And that's just to me, that's just people that aren't really watching it. They're not really watching it intently. They're just hearing through the grapevine, "Oh, the Sixers lost Harden, they're screwed." That's
Yeah.
all that is. It doesn't really, I don't even try to join in those conversations because I was picking my son up from school today, and I had a Sixers hoodie on, and two guys started talking about the Sixers and Harden, and the one dude was like, "Yeah, Harden should have stayed in Philly." They were just kind of going off, and some of them were saying things that I was like, I'm not even getting into this conversation because they're not watching it if they're saying these things that they're saying. That's where I'm at with it. Let's do starting lineup before we get out of here, I guess.
Oof, that's
Off the
tough.
top. Off the top, starting lineup. I guess they play the Raptors on Thursday. I don't know how NBA trades work with if players are available right after the trade and things like that. So they got to pass physicals. I don't think the trade is even official yet. It's just the Sixers have agreed to trade James Harden to the Clippers. So, I don't know if everyone's available Thursday, but what do you have for a starting lineup looking at the roster right now? Thankfully for me, PJ Tucker is part of the trade because
Yeah.
I couldn't. Even Nick Nurse was playing him and he was starting him, and then he would take him out, and Kelly Oubre would get most of the run, but I couldn't figure it out. Goose egg, goose egg, goose egg. He plays hard, but he's 6'5", Like I just don't get it. So I got my wish that PJ Tucker is no longer in the Sixers starting lineup, although I do like Kelly Oubre off the bench. You go first. Who do you think? What do you think should be the starting lineup?
I like Kelly Oubre off the bench for sure. I'm gonna keep him there. I think Maxey, Melton, Tobias. I think Nick Nurse is gonna put Tobias, and then I think he's gonna put Batum, and I think
Batum at
it's
the
gonna be
4.
Embiid. I think Batum's gonna start. I just have a feeling because he's a coach guy. Coaches love him, and he's not gonna do anything crazy, but he's a guy you don't have to worry about out there. And personally, I mean, if it was a perfect world and KJ Martin was ready for everything, I would start Maxey, Melton, KJ Martin, Tobias, and Embiid. But I just think he's too young, and
Yeah,
I don't see Nurse. I think he'll bring him off the bench, and I think he's probably better in a bench role on a winning team.
yeah,
So I think Batum is going to get the nod. I would also think about Covington at the 3
I
and then
forgot about
Tobias at the
Rocco.
4. There's a lot of options. I'm fine
Forgot
with
about Rocco.
anything, to be honest.
I forgot about Rocco. Is Rocco washed?
He's been looking good for the Clippers. Like the Clippers fans always were asking him to play last year. He's probably our best off-ball defender right away, especially in the Nick Nurse system. I mean, his offense is trash if he's not hitting three-pointers, but
Yeah.
I mean, during the regular season, especially against like the Celtics, just having a body like him, pause, he'll help.
The perfect specimen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about Rocco. So who else we got? Oh, Marcus Morris Sr.
Nah, he won't start. He shouldn't start.
No, I don't think he will start either. Is that the Morris brother that got like blindsided by Jokic and got
No.
whiplash? Okay, that was Markeith.
Yeah, it was
Which
Markieff.
one's the good one?
Jokic ended his career, by the way, which
Which
should
one
be
was
noted.
Yeah, he did. So which
I
one was the good
think
one throughout their like the better one throughout their careers?
I think Marcus has been better.
He's the one that played for the Celtics for a while, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. That one.
that one.
Marcus. Yeah. Marcus Morris. I don't know what he has left. Again, I haven't even seen him play this year. Yeah, he won't be in the starting lineup. I think I'm going to agree with you completely, actually, because I love Kelly Oubre off the bench.
I love him off the bench.
Because everyone's like Kelly Oubre's balling. You got to bench PJ Tucker. You got to start Kelly Oubre, and I'm like, no, you don't. Like you don't need all 5 guys in the starting lineup to be balling. You need a guy off the bench to be balling, and I think it makes perfect sense. And he's in those lineups where he can just be Kelly Oubre, and it's just like, hey, look, now you're in a lineup where there's nothing really happening, and you can go try to make things happen. That's what you do. You're Kelly Oubre. You get in the lane, you force things, get to a mid range, you chuck threes. Hopefully, he keeps shooting at a high. Although I think his last he went on a little bit of a cold streak. I think he's over 10 in his last 10 3-point attempts. But that's Kelly Oubre. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be hot. He's going to be cold. But just one of those guys that's fun to watch. Flash, electric off the bench, and he's going to like talk shit and get in people's faces, and Philly's going to love it. And yeah, I'm all for Kelly Oubre off the bench. So yeah, and it's pretty simple actually, because the Tobias Harris PJ Tucker combination was I just thought it was not good. I think they're both slow. I think they both PJ stopped shooting corner threes. I don't know. I was over it. So if we're simplifying it to like in the starting lineup, you just replace PJ Tucker with Nicholas Batum, then yeah, that's cool with me too.
Yeah, that's why I kind of went with Batum because, I mean, I think Nick Nurse wanted to start Tucker because he kind of has to because of politics, because of that contract, and because you can't really start. I was talking to my friend, and he was kind of explaining this. You can't really start a guy like Kelly Oubre, who before the season had like a loser basketball type of narrative going around. That's why he only got the minimum. Like to start that over a guy with such a great pedigree or whatever, PJ Tucker, it's like it's going to be tough to do that without PJ Tucker being like, what are we doing here? And that's another good thing about Batum is he only started 17 games last year for the Clippers. So even if he doesn't start, he's not going to care, and he's kind of accepted where he is at this point in his career. And I don't think PJ Tucker has accepted what he is. Like PJ Tucker should be the 8th guy off the bench. But for some reason, coaches and the league thinks he's a starter because he brings toughness and he hustles. And once again, it's just what coaches like. Like coaches like a guy who they don't have to worry about, and you really don't have to worry about PJ Tucker doing anything stupid. Like Paul Reed. Like Paul Reed he'll make a silly play.
Yeah.
Kenyon Martin Jr., Kelly Oubre, they'll make silly plays. They'll take bad shots.
Tucker
and Batum, they're not going to do that. Rarely.
Do you think you see Batum play some more backup center too, and Paul Reed loses minutes?
I mean, I think it depends on the matchup, but giving Nick Nurse that option, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. We haven't yet seen the Paul Reed, Joel Embiid together thing that Nurse said is going is going to definitely happen. Paul Reed hasn't looked great yet this season. He has not that he's ever looked great. I'm just saying he hasn't looked like Paul Reed, I think, this season yet. I don't know about Paul Reed, man. Maybe he gets flipped in one of these. Maybe Paul Reed ends up in Toronto or something.
Yeah, he's been. I think offensively, he's just kind of been weird. I think defensively, he's been fine, but I think the whole freedom of the offense is kind of. It's like sometimes you're gonna be like, "Oh, damn, that's good that we got more freedom with that player." But with Paul Reed, it's kind of like the opposite. It's like, "Oh no, here we go." But I do like that he's trying to shoot threes. It's just not going in. But I do like his energy.
Paul Reed makes more. If Paul Reed hits 2 threes in a game, I'm gonna be unbearable.
Oh yeah, I think he'll get better as the season goes along. He's a solid backup. He's better than Mo Bamba for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's good to have 2 options. You got the Rocco at the 4 and Batum at the 5, and now you also got Paul Reed, which is we couldn't say that before the Harden trade.
We couldn't say that before the Harden trade at all. Hey, 400 people in here. Everybody hit the like button. Thanks for being here. We're gonna get out of here in a minute. And I'll try to have Romp on the show consistently throughout the season because I think we have good conversation. I like your insight on a lot of things, especially the Sixers and the rest of your NBA knowledge. I like it. Mr. Rudy Poo, thanks for the support, my guy. Can't wait to see Kelly and KJ on the floor together. A lot of energy and left hand posters. I mean, for me, I grew up in the early 2000s, so I was watching Kenyon Martin catch alley-oops from Jason Kidd at the damn free throw line and cocking it behind his head. I mean, he was an absolute high-flying monster for a couple of years, and his son is, just as athletic as he was. I don't know if his son's going to end up being the level of basketball player that he ended up being, but yeah, I love the athleticism. I just love it, and the Sixers have just lacked it for so long. Like, you're a basketball fan. You want to see somebody dunk on somebody's face, dude. And so many years it was like just slow guys that can't jump. So it's nice to have a couple of guys that, even if you have a bad game and you're down by 20, somebody might yoke on somebody. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, just the pace we play with Maxey at the point guard is so refreshing. And overall, I think it's just Nick Nurse being like, yo, just play faster. I don't think it's necessarily just because Maxey has the keys. Like every time Tobias gets a rebound, he's pushing the pace. Even Joel, even though I don't want him to, he gets crazy when he brings the ball up the court, pisses me off. But they're just playing so much faster. And Oubre, our best cutter and our best finisher in transition, and now Kenyon Martin, Oubre's got competition for the best cutter and finisher around the rim.
2 cutters on the Sixers?
2 cutters.
2 athletic guys that can cut on the Philadelphia 76ers. That's crazy.
And Embiid looking for cutters consistently.
Man, it's wild. Maybe we're setting ourselves up for heartbreak once again, but, they did it. Whatever, Sixers. Josh Harris, you got me back. You got me back.
I think it'll be heartbreak in like good taste, hopefully, because like recently the heartbreak's just been trash. Like just seeing what they're doing on the court.
Yeah.
Like if they lost in the way they lost to the Bucks, I'm sure everyone would be like, "Oh damn, they played with great effort."
Yes.
So
that's what you want.
And like the Phillies lost in the World Series 2 years ago or whatever against Houston, and everyone was happy like with their future. It wasn't because they overachieved and hustled or whatever whatever hustling is in baseball. They had good vibes. So I think if they have good vibes, and I mean a second round exit would suck, but I just want a good product.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
I just want a
right.
good product.
If the team goes out there and tries their hardest and just falls short, that's totally different. That's like, oh, we did our best. But yeah, the past couple of years, you've been watching this team, and even leading up to the playoffs, people want to believe so much, and people want to think that you're going to win a championship. But the past couple of seasons, I've been the one that's been here like, really? You guys think this team with Doc Rivers and how slow they are in their transition defense and their rebounding? I was telling everyone, like, this team's not winning a championship. Get out of here. That's not, and I hate that. I don't like to consistently be negative all the time. I want to believe in my favorite team. So yeah, it's fun that, I am believing in my favorite team again right now. And there's a coach that gives me reason for that. I was over Doc Rivers the first 2 weeks he was here. I was like, well, this ain't gonna work. Now we're screwed. Now we're stuck for 5. At least they fired him after 3. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I just think watching Maxey score 25 plus is way more entertaining than the way Harden gets his buckets. No offense
Yeah,
to Harden.
it was boring. It's not
And
fun to watch.
I could even say that about Embiid. I just feel like Maxey's definitely his favorite teammate outside of Jimmy Butler.
You think so?
Just because he's always more often, like sometimes he doesn't, but more often he's always looking for the handoff. He's
Mhm.
always looking to get it back to Maxey. And that's kind of rare with Joel Embiid because he usually likes to hold the ball and do his thing. So, and you
No,
see
you're right.
when Maxey like hits shots, you see Embiid is hype. And I think he feels way better on the court with Maxey because he'll hit spot up 3-pointers way more often with Maxey passing to him than James Harden. That's something I noticed. Like whenever Embiid would pop for Harden, he would miss every time. I feel like
Yeah.
every time he pops for Maxey, it feels better. And
Also,
I don't know what that is, but I just think it's like a chemistry and they just feel good together. It's like it reminds me of Jokic and Murray. They're not near that level yet. Like Jokic and Murray are on another stratosphere, but they can get near them as a duo, in my opinion.
yeah, I think also from an entertaining standpoint, Joel Embiid's big and slow. Watching him and Harden,
Oh,
it was 2 slow guys that are just doing their thing, and it was predictable, and even when it worked, yeah, it wasn't really that much fun to watch. Like, it's just like, oh, and you get Maxey, and he just compliments Embiid because he's the opposite. Little fast guy, big slow guy, and yeah, I'm here to be entertained. I tell people this all the time. You know, you go through life and you handle your business and you just want to be entertained. That's the only reason we're watching a sport is I want to be entertained. Last year, I had more fun watching the Oklahoma City Thunder by a landslide than I did my own team, the Sixers, because they're those kind of teams for me are fun to watch. They got a bunch of young athletic guys that are going to run up and down the floor and shit's going to happen and it's fun even if they lose. So, yeah. Yeah, this team's going to be more entertaining. It's going to be more fun to watch.
yeah.
That's why I'm here. I want to have fun.
Do you do you remember the Minnesota game last year where Harden sat out and
Uh,
Maxey and Embiid just went crazy? They completely destroyed the T Wolves on national TV. It was on TNT. I don't
I
know,
don't
but
remember.
that game always lives in my mind, and it lived in my mind all off season, and it was just a warning sign that yeah, these two can be special together. And I think Maxey also helps. I think his attitude is, and the fact that they're giving him the keys, it basically means he's a leader now. So that attitude is more contagious. I've been saying this for a while, by the way.
Mhm.
But and I think with Embiid, sometimes he kind of gets in his head and his body language is bad. I think that type of attitude, like if
Yep.
Embiid misses a layup or whatever, Maxey's going to go over and be like, "Yo, let's go," or whatever. He's going to encourage him. Well, Harden, when shit gets tough, I mean, he's just like Embiid. They'll start sulking together,
Uh-huh.
and he can't really get out of that. And I think Maxey's a guy who, even if things are getting tough, he's still going to have that positive mindset. And he's just going to keep working. And I think Embiid needs that next to him. He doesn't need another guy who's kind of the same ilk and kind of sulks in bad times.
Dude, that's such a great point. And Embiid a lot of times too will start to try to rely on a whistle instead of putting
Hmm.
the ball in the hoop or going up strong. and watching him and Harden both do it together was like, dude, get the fuck up. Get off the floor. Stop falling over. Put the ball in the hoop. I got so annoyed watching the flops, and Maxey he doesn't have flop in his DNA, at least yet. He doesn't have it inside him. He doesn't even know how to do it because he just plays the game the right way and he just plays the game hard. And he's just like, I come around the screen and try to get to a spot where I can score. He's not yet a Damian Lillard where he's like, I can come around the screen and I can, if I feel the defender's arm on my hip, I can hook his arm and throw my leg out and throw my, like, I fucking hate that shit, dude. I wanted to smash every TV in my house
tough
during that Bucks game. It was unbelievable what I was watching. But anyway, Maxey plays the game the right way, and he'll probably eventually learn how to draw fouls a little bit better than he does right now. But
he kind of is. He kind of is. I mean, he's like swiping through like Harden used to do every now and again, but he doesn't flop. He like goes into the defender.
Yeah. Yeah. He's getting that drawing real contact like Allen Iverson used to do. He's really drawing contact.
But I have a question for you and the chat, because I don't know if I'm crazy, but I feel like Embiid, and I feel like this is a Nick Nurse adjustment. I feel like Embiid is flopping less, and I feel like he's falling less this year. I don't know if I'm crazy. It's only been 3 games, but I feel like he's more under control when he drives. He's not just, falling.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's going through, like, I feel like there's a mindset change where in his head, he's looking to score the bucket. And I feel like in the past 3 years, when he goes up and he's looking for contact, he's just trying to get the foul and he's not worried about the bucket. I will say the Bucks game, I feel like he did do that. But the past 2 games, I feel like he's going through contact and just worried about the bucket. And if the foul comes, it's all good. And I think Nick Nurse is telling him that. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I just he's not falling as much.
No, I think so too. And like I said, I would like to have heard what happened after that Bucks game because I think Nick Nurse had a conversation with him. And the people that do the whole like, oh, the coach doesn't matter. These are superstar players. They need to play. Like, everybody's still human. If Joel Embiid can be so good at basketball that he walks into the NBA and dominates because he's 7'2", 275 and has Hakeem Olajuwon skills and a Kobe Bryant jump shot. But that doesn't mean he has the discipline to play the game the way that it necessarily needs to be played in the biggest moments and always continue to play hard and things. Everybody still needs a coach. There's world-class fitness athletes that still have a fitness coach right next to them. So go one more, or whatever. Your form is this, whatever. Like, you still need to be pushed. And yeah, Doc Rivers didn't even say anything to anyone. He just let everyone do whatever they wanted. You could easily tell. Nick Nurse, I think, is definitely like, yo, what are you doing? You're not going to get the call. You're not going to get the call. You're bigger than him. Go through his body. And I think that's what happened, dude. He made Robert Williams look like a child the other night. The one spin and dunk on him was like Robert just flew into the first row. And like, that's what Joel Embiid has always needed. He came into this organization and was just babied, just like Ben Simmons was, because we haven't had a star in 20 years. These guys, the biggest like detriment to somebody like that is not being on them and telling them to be better, because they're just going to, build habits and do things and not really play to their best ability. Joel Embiid's needed someone from day one to be like, you're bigger and stronger than these guys, and you're playing like a bitch right now. Go put the ball in the hoop. And I think that's what Nick Nurse is doing. And I think it showed after just one game.
Yeah, and I think for the first time in a while, we can sit here and be like, the coach actually cares more about the Sixers than us. And with Doc Rivers, he did not care about the Sixers. I mean, I'm sure he cared. He probably prepared, but it's nowhere near the level of Nick Nurse. Nowhere near. I mean, Nick Nurse, the way they were playing in preseason, I mean, they were developing chemistry before the season too, which was another big issue with Harden coming back, because everyone already knew the plays and Harden was like, oh, what is this? So I don't know. It's nice to have a coach. He's probably not perfect. We're probably going to see flaws from Nurse as time goes on.
Yeah.
But he definitely puts in the effort, and he definitely knows basketball. And I appreciate that because before I just feel like my coach didn't care.
Yeah, it definitely got hard to watch over the Doc Rivers years because you just felt like what this isn't going anywhere with this guy, and we know it. So, yeah, we did it. We did it. The Doc Rivers era is over. The Sixers have a real coach for the first time since Larry Brown. The Harden situation is over. They have a real quick ball handling guard for the first time since Larry Brown and Allen Iverson. I'm very excited. I am. You got anything else, Romp?
I'm excited too. They got a lot to prove, obviously. We played pretty trash competition over the last 2 games.
True.
But it's just seeing the play style, it's obvious they're heading in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yes. We're excited. Scott Soten, thanks for the super chat. Love you two separately. Together is great. My first 2 go-tos for any Sixers reactions. Dope, man. Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the love, man. Yeah. So yeah. Romp, thanks for coming through, man. I'm excited. You're excited. Everybody's excited.
Yeah.
Everybody hit the like button. Thanks for being here. Later.
Peace.